I'm Norman Liss, and the name of the program is The Way to Go. I invite you to join me as we explore places to go and things to do. We're going into Pirate Land this week, and it's the Pirates of Penzance at the Westchester Broadway Theater. It's a great, fun, rollicking show, and we're very fortunate to have as my guest today two of the principal performers. They are Tony Lawson, who plays the pirate, and James Gerth, who will get into a little bit of this, and you'll hear about the unusual role that he plays. And so here we are. I've seen the show. It's a three-ring circus, and it's so much fun. And I wonder if up on the stage, if you're having as much fun as the audience is.
Yeah.
Oh, are you? Good.
I think we are.
I'm glad.
Is it fun to do a fun show as opposed to a serious show, or is it work? Singers tell me that they're so busy concentrating on getting it exactly right that it's really work, even if you're doing something light. But this is such a light show. This is pure entertainment.
True. It's a little different from other shows because here we get the license to. We're making fun of what we're doing, and a lot of times, even with a musical or another show, it's directed straight, and you do the same type of thing every single time. And if it's a certain song, you've got to concentrate on the song, or the lines have to be done the same way. Here, George Puello, the director, gave us a little license that if things go one way, we can go with that. If we make a mistake, you pick it up, you go with it. Or if you end up just laughing at what you're doing, that's fine because the whole audience is in on it too. So every joke is going to work that way.
Does the audience understand that this is such an offbeat show? Do they get into that immediatat
No. As a matter of fact, I found out that it takes a while. I used to wonder. We opened the show, and granted, we only had a 8-day rehearsal period when you get down to it, and suddenly we find ourselves on stage in costume with an audience staring back at us, and we still think we're in rehearsal. But it was great, because even then, it forced us to work fast. And it took a while, I think, for us to understand what the audience was getting from us. Half the people, I think, even though they know we're going to do it, they say in the ad, it's like you've never seen it before. And some of the people that talked about the show say it's like the Joseph Papp version, and people have seen the movie that was done, so they know that it's a very light, funny, up-to-date version. Now, George Puello has taken it just one step further and decided, let's completely pull out all the stops. And I think the people sit there for a second, they're not sure what to expect. Do we laugh? How do we take this? But as soon as we have some cannons that roar off, and this is, several minutes into the show, and then they suddenly they set up and they start having a good time.
Now you say that, of course, there was the version that was done at the Public Theater. It was done first in Central Park, wasn't it?
Right.
The Delacorte Theater, and then it went on to Broadway. And some very notable people have played the part. Kevin Kline originated it, as I recall.
Yes.
And then when it went to Broadway, who took it over? Do you recall who went in?
Jim Belushi went into it at one point.
Was he really
Jim
in there?
Belushi, yeah.
But it's not. I mean, this is a fun Gilbert and Sullivan show. But on the other hand, it was taken a step further. And
I wouldn't call it a step. I think it's more like a giant leap. George has a bizarre sense of humor, and I would say the majority of people get 90% of what George's bizarre sense of humor is all about.
So he's gone a leap beyond what was done on Broadway.
You have to remember that this Gilbert and Sullivan, most Gilbert and Sullivan, but particularly the Pirates of Penzance, is a spoof in and of itself. It's making fun of light opera. So it was the case with the original, and then of course Papp said, well, they're making fun, well, why don't we do that with a 70s or an 80s consciousness of when he did it. Well, George just kind of like said, all right, well, if they can make fun of what they were making fun of, why don't we make more fun of that? And he just keeps going. And
which of course brings us to the role that you play,
Sergeant of Police.
Sergeant of Police, but not a sergeant as anyone has ever seen him. Actually, you're Groucho Marx.
Groucho Marx.
And Chico and Harpo are there with you.
These are the three policemen who come to save the day, and we overcome all the pirates. There's a good hearty band of them, and we wipe them right out. With comedy, with laughter.
But Jim, it's interesting because, and I'm not giving away any secrets. When the lights go down, you're like backstage. There are lights on the stage, and the stage manager or certainly someone from the crew is on stage, and that's you, isn't it?
Yeah, in Act One, I'm normally the production stage manager at the theater, and George pulled me out of my semi-retirement to do this role. So we needed someone to, in the opening, be the stage manager to get the entire set. The concept of that being that this tells the audience we're doing a play. Don't take it too seriously.
The whole tone is really established by the cover of the playbill, isn't it? Because you really see that gay, light spirit that's in there, and that's a graphic photo, I guess, or a drawing of you in the role of the Pirate King. Or is that the Pirate King? Is that the role?
Oh, yeah.
You made a point here that I just want to get back to here, is that you have been at the Westchester Broadway Theater as stage manager for some time, and once in a while you do a role on stage. How does that happen? Why do you do that?
Well, primarily I'm an actor, and I have been. I was trained as an actor, but I was also trained as a stage manager and as a theater manager, etc. when I went to college. And stage managers tend to work more steadily than actors tend to work. And a year and a half ago, my wife and I became proud parents of a little baby boy, and as Michael was arriving, we said it's time to work steadily. So it looks like it's time to pull out the stage manager's hat and do that for a while, at least until he gets a job. And we're working on that. But stage managing is performing as well. It's just a different type of performing.
Maybe we ought to clarify here, Jim, what stage manager does. What is his function?
In different theaters, he does different things. In this particular theater, the production stage manager is sitting in a booth in the back of the audience, and he has a panel of lights in front of him and an intercom system he's wearing on his ear, and he's talking to the lighting department on one channel, he's talking to backstage on another channel, and he basically makes everything happen at the exact moment that it's supposed to happen, so that that magic is consistent from night to night.
He's running the show, actually.
The whole show moves along according to him. He tells the conductor when he begins, the downbeat of the show. He tells when the house lights are going out, whenever any piece of scenery is going to move. There's a lot that he cues. Sound effects are also cued by the stage manager.
And so this all has to be done like a beat ahead of when it
it's
actually
the most difficult thing to do. Because I do a lot of music when I'm performing, musically it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, in stage management, it's 1 to go, 3, 4. And that go happens so that on the 4 or on the 1 of the following beats, something on stage will happen, and it will happen right at that time. And you have to take yourself out of your normal musical frame of mind and know when to call a cue so that it happens when it's supposed to happen, which is when you would normally say go. Instead of 1, 2, 3, go, it's 1 to go, 3, and it happens.
Sounds very technical and also impossible.
Yeah, actually, Bill Stutler said that to me one day. He said it's an impossible job, and I said, "Well, thank you." And I said, "I guess that's a compliment."
But on this show, in addition to playing a role, you are assistant stage manager.
Exactly. Yes.
Certainly, you couldn't be sitting at the back of the house telling everybody what to do.
That becomes difficult to do,
especially if you're on stage. Now the whole thing starts in a very, very quiet way, and then suddenly the scenery unfolds, the sails lift up, and it happens. I mean, the people are there in various degrees of costume, and suddenly we're on stage. So it's kind of looking behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. I had the feeling that in most shows, when you have to focus on the performer who is saying the lines or singing, but this is like a three-ring circus, because there are, at the corner of your eye, you see something happening. Even the conductor is involved. I mean, I don't usually like to tell people what I've seen, but I think it's fun. I mean, I have never seen a show where people on stage are fencing with the conductor's baton. And Is that George Puello? Is that something that he's added, or was that in the?
I have a feeling that was done in the PAP.
It was done.
That's a little too obvious. Yeah, that was probably done in the PAP. But George has the conductor shooting back at the Pirate King with a water pistol after he loses the fight. So George is really gone a little bit beyond.
There's also a crow that is up at the top of the mast.
Never work with animals.
And I detected, when I saw the show, I detected your voice as the voice of the crow.
Well, I didn't do my job properly. I'm sorry. My third character didn't come across completely. There's a crow. I had said to George years ago, I did a production, I did 2 productions of Pirates with George 13 years ago and 12 years ago. And I built the pirate ship. One of the other things I do is build scenery, and I built the pirate ship. And after the run was over, I said, we should have had a crow up there. Put a little string, and he can flap his wings down this song. And George turned to Peter Barbieri, who's a brilliant technical director at the theater, and he said, "Can I have a crow?" And he went, "Yeah." And I said, can the crow move its mouth and flap its wings? And he thought about it, and he said, "Yeah." And he went out and he got the animatronics for it, and he built a crow that talks and moves and reacts and does double takes and everything else. And they have it mounted up on a ladder. Yeah. And he comments on the show as the show goes along.
I don't know, but it seems to me that although you're having a lot of fun and there's a lot of movement and a lot of color and dancing, that you're working very hard. Is it harder to do this type of broad comedy than it is to do serious? You've both done serious parts. Mm-hmm. Is it harder?
What does they say? Comedy is easy, dying is hard?
Right.
Or comedy is hard, dying is easy, or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Well, no, because you're going to work emotionally. You can drain yourself doing something dramatic or something that's very serious. But, of course, nothing's going to compare to the physicality. And, of course, this show, people will come and they'll see a lot of physical humor. And we're sweating like mad. Of course, we have the lights we're dealing with, but that in itself, we have the props. And then you're trying to get yourself to the right place. And then you find yourself dueling with somebody. And then you're turning around, finding yourself, you have to get off stage to grab something, to quickly come back and time it for the laugh, And it's all about timing. And to do that, you find yourself, I really never know when the end of the act is coming, and then it happens, and wow, I'm drenched. And I wish, I remember telling I share a dressing room with another actor, Samuel, and we're sitting there, I said, I wish I could do this without sweating once. Then I realized, no, I'll never be able to do it, because when I'm not sweating, that means I'm not doing the show. I'm not doing the right show.
But you're kind of the focal point of the show. The pirate is surrounded by people, as we have an illustration that shows that.
Right.
I mean, and you have a very big voice and a very commanding presence, but your acting is so broad. I mean, nobody is supposed to take you seriously, and it could be off-putting to take you seriously. And I think you established that from your first entrance. Actually, is there something about the way you carry yourself that says, "Hey, this is fun"?
Yes.
I mean, nobody should be afraid of me.
Exactly right. And George told me that. He said something to me when I auditioned for this role, and he came up to me and said, "I can't give you the job right now, but I got to tell you something. You've hit it right on the head." And I remember thinking, what did he mean? What did he mean? And later on, he told me, he said, because you can make fun of yourself. You can have a good time, and we know that you could be a big buffoon, and yet you're good at doing that. And of course, my wife will say, "Oh, you are a good buffoon," and she'll agree with that. Okay, a lot of practice, Tony. But you're right. No, once I'm on stage, he says, you set the flavor for the show, Tone. You come out, you look the part, you are the Pirate King, and yet everything I try to do, it might go wrong, or I'll end up laughing about it, or I want to laugh for it.
And it does go wrong.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, in the show itself,
yes.
Of course, things do go wrong all the time, and I suppose you all have to be prepared. Now, when George Puello was setting up and directing and doing all the things that had to be done to get this happen, he gave you the freedom to ad-lib, didn't he?
If the need arose. Or the opportunity arose, either one.
Because, well, you talked about what George put into the show and how this differs from the Joe Papp. You can only go far with a joke, and you can say, here's the way it looks on paper. Let me write out the joke. Now, it's true, not everybody can tell a good joke. the joke sounds the same, it looks the same, but it's how you tell it and it's the timing. George would come to me with an idea, and I'd watch him do it, and I'd go, okay, that's humorous. Then I'd realize there's no way I could do it to make it funny. I've got to tell the director that. I'm really sorry, can we change this? Because I won't be able to make that funny the way you want it. And that was tough for George. He had, for every bit, he had 7 things that he'd like to try. Okay, that didn't work here. Wear this and do it this way, which is another mark of a great comedy director. So, but you're right. As we've gone through the run of the show already, we found things that I'm going to change this because it hasn't worked up till now. Let's see what happens this way. And that's great. They could come down on us, and say, let's go back to square A. But instead, they'll allow us to just kind of ease into it.
Props are very important. I want to get into that. But before I do that, I do want to remind our audience that we're talking about the Pirates of Penzance, which is at the Westchester Broadway Theater. And we're talking to 2 of the main players in it, Tony Lawson, who plays the Pirate King, and Jim Gerth, who plays the Sergeant of the Police, but he plays it like Groucho Marx. So there are some props that come out there, just a few. And I guess that makes it more complicated, but for the audience it adds a flavor, like a duck that comes waddling out on the stage.
A pair of ducks, yes.
A pair of ducks, electronically controlled, I assume.
Well, as long as they had the bird going, they figure, let's throw in some ducks, and they've got the controllers back there to do it.
And one of the props, well, maybe not so much a prop, is you make kind of a dramatic entrance at one point. I know you surprised me. Suddenly you appear from way up on high and come sliding down a rope.
Right.
It's I guess you got to go all the way around to the back and get up there and hope that it holds, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's not easy. In every theater, it'd be a little bit different, of course, but in this one, I remember when they told me, they said, okay, you can either go through the audience, which, you might give away what you're trying to do, or else you'll go, okay, by the kitchen, around the side, through the shop, and up here, over pipes, underneath the duck. I'm thinking, how long is this going to take? So for the first few times, I had to time it so that I knew when to be in my position, because it's not easy just to get up there.
Do you go the service corridor way?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! All right.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting. It's interesting to me that we're talking about a fun show, very colorful, but we haven't talked about the music. We haven't talked about this is Gilbert and Sullivan, and the music is intact. Well, it's almost intact because there are a certain few modern things that are. I do recall that "Hail, Hail, the gang's all here" suddenly.
Well, they slip that in.
It slips in there, and some of the dancing gets very modern, and there's a Elvis Presley version of one of the numbers. But basically, you are sticking to Gilbert and Sullivan all the way through, and the point that you made about they doing a satire, and this is a satire on a satire on a satire, works very well. The lines are very, very funny. I am the very model of a modern major general, which it's one of the classic Gilbert and Sullivan patter songs, is of course very important. And you got a great major general doing that, don't you?
Oh, Bill McCauley is wonderful. Last night you were talking about things happening and freedom to do things. During one of my numbers, I have 2 major numbers, and during one of my numbers, I see Bill McCauley out of the corner of my eye, and I'm thinking, what's he doing back there? And he's doing it an awful lot. Is he signing autographs back with the audience? Is what's going on? I took it off stage after. I said, Bill, are you signing autographs during my number? And he says, no, you were singing your song, and I always lean over to the audience, and I go, this isn't in the program, isn't it? It's just a little sideline that's always been there that I've never heard. And one of the girls in the audience, yes, it is. And she picked up the program, and she wanted to show him where it was in the program. So we went over, and he let her show her, and all this is going on during my number. So I'll have to pay Bill back during one of his, maybe tomorrow night.
You've done that in the past with him.
Oh, Bill and I have worked together before. Bill, I forgot a line. I was on stage with Bill 4 or 5 years ago in Elmsford, and I forgot a line, and I stood there just staring at him for 30 seconds, and finally came up with the end of the line, and I walked off stage, and Bill patted me on the shoulder and said, "Ooh, nice cover." And very early in the run, Bill got lost in the modern major general number, and he was halfway through one of the verses, and I was waiting for him in the wing when he came off. And it's part of my job as the assistant stage manager to light page him off the stage, and I was right there, and he came off, and I patted him on the shoulder and said, "Bill, nice cover." And he knew it was payback.
The energy is very important. How do you keep the energy up? I mean, you're not on the stage all the time. You don't come on until later, and you're off a lot. How do you keep the energy up? Are you singing and dancing backstage the whole time, or do you just turn it off and turn it on?
I sit down and breathe a lot.
Yeah.
You breathe and you sweat.
Depends on how your age, I think.
Yeah.
I remember. I have some friends that are performers that for me, I think it's a waste of time, but they'll honestly spend 10, 20 minutes before their entrance just psyching themselves into it, running around, doing something to bring them into it so that they're ready. But no, it's like Jim just said, sometimes I just have to put my coffee down and just take a deep breath and try to get out there, just try to get, but no, that's part of the job too, just being able to deliver that energy.
I've talked to a lot of performers on this program, and some people tell me, just as you said, I did speak to one person who does come in 20 minutes beforehand and gets into character, and he has to do that, and people know not to talk to him at all because he has to do that. And I've talked to people who stay in character when they're off stage, and there are some people who go out and dance, and I've heard of people who go out and play bridge or something if they're off for a while. So I guess everybody does it differently. You do what you have to do. What you have to do, I think, with this show is understand that it's only for 10 weeks, because that's the new policy at the Westchester Broadway Theater. And the theater has already outlined its plans far off into next year. Jim, having been backstage so much, what is some of that? What are some of the things that
the 10-week policy is also that part of the problem we've had, some of the shows have been so successful, the shows will be extended, and then people who have made a reservation for a certain show, they'll get the phone call, no, we're doing the show longer. So they've decided they're going to stick to a 10-week show. Each show will run only 10 weeks, will not be extended no matter how successful the show will be. And I think people are going to find with the upcoming show Gigi that they really are going to have to order tickets early, because Gigi is selling.
February
7th, 8th, 9th, somewhere right in there is the opening of Gigi. And all of the matinee performances during the week, the senior citizen groups have been sold out for a month.
Really?
And they are gone, and the evening seats are going to start to go very quickly. And people are going to have to find that they are going to have to make their reservations early instead of waiting for the last week or two.
This is a good point to remind people what the telephone number to call for information is.
The box office number would be 914-592-2222. That number again is 914-592-2222. Lots of twos. Hit 59, just keep doing twos.
And we'll put that number up in the closing credits.
And following Gigi, they're going to be doing Good News. Following Good News will be Dream Girls, which was one of the theater's most successful shows. And following that will be Guys and Dolls. So just count 10 weeks from that first week of February, and you'll know what our schedule is.
Now, Guys and Dolls, just for a moment here, is great. I made sure that I saw it before it closed and on Broadway, and I had seen it in its original, and there's so much that I had forgotten. I knew the music, but it's such a great show, and it works so well. Show. So this is a really a great season ahead at the theater. But let's get back to where we are now. The performance, the fun, what's going on. Is it distracting? Is it distracting when all this business is going on out of the corner of your eye? I know it's all part of it, but you're there on stage, and one of the young ladies in the chorus is mugging in the corner and dragging herself across the floor. Is that distracting to the performer, or is it all part of being in it?
This is part of being in this one.
Normally you'd say, what are you doing?
It's true. No, it's true. That's a good point, because in other shows, they have every right to come right off stage, and you'll go to your stage manager, you'll say, excuse me, but this has to stop, because I'm trying to do my job here, and so, and you have every right to let the people know in charge that something is not going on, because, in a normal show, you would have the focus. If you're doing something, you're the lead, you have the focus, you expect the supporting cast to be there. But as you pointed out, anything goes, and so basically you've got to be sure you have the focus, push it. But sometimes that's not so important as long as everyone's enjoying themselves. And even if the supporting cast, like you say, if the girls are mugging, that's all the flavor. That's all just that's helping that scene move along.
We have to be very careful when we change things. If we know we're going to change something ahead of time, like I'm on the phone with George almost every day, going, George, what do you think of this line instead of this line? I think this is a little funnier, and he usually says, yeah, go with that. Once he's exhausted his 7 options, and then the eighth option is ours. And then we have to say, all right, who's on stage during this? And you go around, you try and find everybody who's on stage to say this will be different because it might strike them as very funny, and then you don't want them going up on their lines.
It's interesting that this theater lends itself to so many things. When they put the hydraulics in for Phantom, and then have used it in virtually every show, they're still there, but they're used differently here. I mean, there is some turntable turning, very minor, no lifts, nothing is coming up out of anywhere. There are some trapdoors that unexpectedly open and close.
What's odd is we don't normally use the trapdoors, so it's like what we don't use mechanically, we're using these trapdoors this time out. So there's something different. There's always something different.
This theater lends itself so well to all these different things, and the orchestra, which for the past several shows has been above the stage, is now back in the pit. Well, it has to be in the pit because it's interacting with the cast. The stage itself allows itself the opportunity to be configured differently for different types of shows. And I don't know the technical term, but there is a place where they can walk in front of
a passerelle.
Now,
would be the technical term, that walk around the orchestra, or that ramp thing, depending upon your point of view. It's that thing in front of the orchestra. Go there,
like in the Radio City Music Hall, where they do so much of it. Is that what it's called? The passerelle. Yeah, it's an interesting term for it. Well, we've learned a lot of interesting terms today, and we've learned that you two are in a great, entertaining show at the Westchester Broadway Theater, and I'm delighted that you can come and tell us about it today. We've been talking today with two of the principals in The Pirates of Penzance. It's a great, fun, entertaining show. Go see it if you can, and be prepared to laugh. I'm Norman Liss. The name of this program is The Way to Go. Until next time at this time, enjoy yourself.